paper I chose was Case Studies, a hard look at GM crops. Its main point was that GM crops have some issues and won't solve all the problems for world hunger, but they still are valuable and should be used. The paper I thought that was synergistic with that one was how BT corn and Roundup Ready work and why they should not scare you. It points out that although glyphosate is not necessarily safe, its effect on environment and health has been positive so far.
Once the transgenetic gene is placed into the genome of a plant, there's still a lot to be done. Two papers that explain different pieces of this were Golden Rice Regulatory Agency and How Do You Make a Transgenic Crop. The How Do You Make a Transgenic Crop paper described how at the end of the process where you put in the transgene, you have to get it into a good cultivar and make sure there's no deleterious traits. So the product has to be sent to a plant breeder who will do yield trials and evaluate it and integrate it into the superior cultivars, which takes a lot of time and money. The golden rice, there's regulatory things that happen after the transgenic crop goes through even the breeding phase that I just talked about. Once the golden rice has been made, it's had a hard time getting out because of how much regulatory stuff is going on, and that's led to lots of, maybe not as many people having access to food.
I was member 3 in our group, and the paper I chose specifically for mine reading was the Roundup Ready definition that was provided by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And the other source from a different group, or a different member that I chose to pick, was the University of Arkansas article about Arkansas releasing its first Roundup Ready soybean. And I thought they went really well together because the University of Arkansas kind of just briefly mentioned that it was Roundup Ready, and it kind of glazed over what that actually meant. But the UNL website with the post really explained kind of what that is and what it does. And so one of them, the UNL one, was kind of the basic general background to it, and then the Arkansas one was kind of an application of that, which went really well together.
Okay, I'm Melissa. I'm comparing two articles, an NPR article called In a Grain of Golden Rice. Its main points were about making a balanced comparison between opposing viewpoints for and against golden rice, and then an overview of the process and how golden rice was created. The other article I'm comparing that to is called Genetic Modification Trails Conventional. It argues that GMO's only value are profits and patents, and that it requires 10 times more money to create a GM crop than conventional. I'm comparing and contrasting these two in that they both display a fear of GM crops. The genetic modification article is a biased view, however the NPR article makes it a balanced view, and the argument they have against this GM crop is that they tested this golden rice on Chinese children without allowing their parents and the children to know that it was genetically modified. So there's a legitimate fear between these two articles, but one is more balanced than the other.